Hello and welcome to Small Town Big Screen. I'm one of your hosts, Manny Manuel.
And I'm Kyle Robertson.
Tonight, we will be reviewing the film Demonic, which was filmed in and around the Kamloops area, as always. Looking forward to hearing my co-host's thoughts on this film. So let's dive into it.
Another look at another local-made movie.
Yes.
This one, not fully, but quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Demonic, released August 20th, 2021, directed by Neill Blomkamp, written by Neill Blomkamp, starring Carly Pope, Chris William Martin, Michael J. Rogers, had a Metascore of 36, not that great, Letterboxd score of 2.0, filming locations, Kamloops, BC. Plot, a young woman unleashes terrifying demons when supernatural forces at the root of a decades-long rift between mother and daughter are ruthlessly revealed. Kyle, time to give us your spoiler-free thoughts on Demonic.
So, at the point that Demonic comes out, Neill Blomkamp has had a small hiatus, I think. Small.
Okay.
I really like what him and I believe his brother is a co-producer on this. It's their own production company, which is why it's so much more indie than obviously something like District 9. But I like what they're trying to do by making this movie. They're starting their own thing. They're making movies themselves. It's the kind of thing that I want to do with my brother, is just make our own movies, have our own production company, do what we want to do, and make it work. This movie doesn't live up to, I would say, Neill Blomkamp's reputation. But I can see the good parts. I didn't hate it or anything.
Okay.
I think this is a foray into real horror for our podcast. I think The Friendship Game is horror, but not the same monster kind of horror that this is, which is interesting. I think there's a good concept in this that just didn't quite fully come out. Something like District 9. I haven't seen District 9, but I'm fully aware that there's, in terms of story, there's subtext.
Yeah.
Very obvious subtext. It's saying more than it's showing in the face value of the story. I don't think we got that here, which is unfortunate because Neill Blomkamp is clearly a filmmaker capable of that. This came out height of the pandemic, right smack dab in the middle of 2020, was filmed and then came out the next year. So there is something to be said for the plentiful struggles that come from that, having shot something in Kamloops around the same time, or at least worked on something in Kamloops around the same time, not this. It's tough. It was very tough. So good on them for even getting the movie made in general. Those are my thoughts. I think there's just a lack of depth throughout, but there's some really cool ideas. There's clearly skilled creativity involved. It's just not fully fleshed out in the way that I think even this story deserved.
Yeah, there's some nuggets of really cool ideas in here. They are not fleshed out properly. They are not brought out in the way that you want. This movie was truly a massive disappointment. Neill Blomkamp is a director that I have enjoyed. I've only seen 2 of his films, 3 if you include this. So I've seen District 9 and Elysium. District 9 is a masterwork in science fiction. It's a fantastic movie. Elysium has great ideas, just doesn't quite live up, but I still enjoy it. This couldn't be further from the 2 of them, and not even because of budgetary reasons. I just find that he's not piecing things together properly. I agree. There's some really great things in here that, two things in particular, which I won't spoil, that were revelations. Because I went into this movie after seeing the Letterboxd score and the Metascore. I'm like, this is going to be garbage. And it wasn't far off from garbage, but it had some really cool ideas in there that we can get into when we get into spoilers and talk about our 5 favorite things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this movie was a pretty big letdown. Also, when I mentioned earlier the filming locations as Kamloops, it's the only one listed in IMDb.
Yeah.
This was also filmed in Penticton.
I will get into that later.
Cool.
But yeah.
Because I stopped and rewound a couple times. I'm like, that's not Kamloops.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because I did the stats first.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie. And when Kamloops is the only thing listed, I'm like, we're back, baby. We're back. And then we're not back. Although a lot was filmed here, pretty obvious, a lot at TRU. So that was disheartening.
Not only TRU.
A significant portion.
Oh yeah, big portion.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We'll get into all that later.
Of course we will.
But yeah.
So yeah, the movie is substandard. Yeah. Why don't we talk about our 5 favorite things?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's go into spoilers.
Yeah. We're going to spoil the movie. 5 favorite things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
You're up first.
I'm up first. My number 5 favorite thing. I think this is going to be a hot topic. The simulation.
Okay.
I really like the idea. I think it looks a little bit too much like The Sims. Like, I don't know if you ever played.
I have never played, but it is basically from that angle.
Yeah, that top-down look.
Yes.
From that, like, slight diagonal.
Yep.
Is, like, exactly like The Sims.
Yes.
And the way that the walls melt away and all that, 100% exactly like The Sims. And I don't think I liked that it looked like The Sims, but I also thought it was kind of interesting. Because, realistically speaking, if we have a game that simulates life, and you're making a life simulator, like, work with what you know, I guess.
Okay.
But anyway, I like the idea of it. I like that the actors weren't the actors and the sets weren't the sets. I like that they have this, like, computer generated look. I really like that they put in something that's in a lot of video games is just like dust particles in the air that are probably a little bigger than they should be. I think that looked really cool and really accurate. I think what they were trying to do, maybe mixing mediums a little bit, was cool, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think I enjoyed it at first, but once I saw it a couple times, I started to enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I really enjoyed this part.
Nice.
And spoiler, this is my number 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just discuss it now, and we'll skip over my 3 when we get there.
Sure.
Okay. While as soon as it started, I'm like, oh, they're just doing The Sims.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, the dust particles, I was like, okay. But the way that they had the characters be a little fuzzy and the CGI for that, I thought was a really great idea, because then you could definitely tell when they were in the simulation. Yeah. And it gave it that kind of simulation look that you're wanting. So it doesn't feel, like you said, it's not just the actor standing in a different set. You know when they're in the simulation, and I like that. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like that one as well.
Yeah. It gave also separation from the dream world.
Yes.
So there's dreams, there's simulation, and there's real world. And the dreams and the simulation don't mix, but both mix a little bit with the real world.
Yep.
It's nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
My number 5 is the heat vision shot of when the demon came out of the body.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Predator?
Well, not because of the Predator, but there's another time that you see it when the demon comes out of, I think the character's name is Sam. Mm-hmm. It's just this really cool shot of the demon coming out of the body, and not, if you're in here, you've probably watched the movie, so it's not a spoiler, but if you haven't watched the movie and you're just listening, it's not like Alien. It's not a chest burster. It is like these two beings are being separated, and it's like a ghost coming out. I think it looks really cool. I think the way that they do it twice in the film. Once you actually see it in person, the other one is in a heat vision shot, and just the heat vision shot I just found more impressive and more interesting looking. So that's my number 5.
That's actually a really good call. It was a really cool shot.
Awesome.
Nice.
Your number 4.
My number 4. This is a bit, take it as you will.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that this was set in Canada, and they talk about Canadian stuff like provinces.
Okay.
They say the province at a couple of points, and it was refreshing. A movie made in Canada, set in Canada, and they talk about Canadian stuff.
Okay.
Like, you cannot confuse that for being in the States. I appreciate that. There's a lot of movies. Obviously, most movies made in Canada aren't set in Canada, which is unfortunate. It's just the way we are here. But most movies made in Canada that are set in Canada are, quote unquote, set in Canada. You could easily miss that they're in Canada for the most part. So it's nice when a movie really owns that they're set in Canada, shooting in Canada. It's Canadian. And I appreciated that.
Cool. My number 4 is Tranquille, baby.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah, we get to see the farm. We get to see the buildings. We get to see that whole set out there that is used very often in films because it is a great location. This one uses it well. Adds to the creepiness. It's in the simulation. It's in the dreams. It's in the real world. They use it perfectly. They know what they have. It looks creepy. It is creepy. If you ever go out there in real life, it's still creepy. Even in the middle of the day, it's still creepy. So it is and always will be cool to see it on screen. So I got the Tranquille.
Yeah. We're 4 for 4 on Tranquille usage.
Yeah.
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 This was my number 3.
Okay.
Tranquille.
Sweet.
I completely agree with everything you've said. The only couple of things I'll add on to that is the use of the tunnels. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you're aware. All of the tunnel stuff, like when they go to find the demon at the end, they go back for the mother. That's all shot in the underground tunnels of Tranquille. So later on, our special guest will have more insight.
Sweet.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool to use those as much as you can because it's limited down there.
Yep.
And some of the tunnels have caved in and or are impassable for different reasons. So really cool to see it get used. Especially my grandma used to work in the tunnels regularly. So moving things back and forth. There were offices down there, so it's kind of cool.
Cool.
The other part I like is the story that they use for the location in this, like in the story of the movie. Like that backstory for that place is the real backstory of Tranquille.
Nice.
A tuberculosis camp turned sanatorium, closed down, and then the mother goes in to see if it can be reopened, and that's when she interacts with the demon. I loved that they took the real story of Tranquille and then shot it at Tranquille.
Nice.
That was really cool. I'm assuming they found the location and then were like, that's an amazing backstory for this location. Let's use it. And they just did it. But again, very Canadian thing. It's not the only sanatorium that comes from a tuberculosis camp that has been closed and is now used for filming, et cetera, et cetera.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. So I've already said my 3.
Yeah.
So we got to do yours.
Oh, back to me. Well, that was my number 3.
Okay.
So
my number 2.
somebody's number 2.
My
Let's
number
do
2.
your number 2. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, it'd be your number 2.
It would be my number 2.
Because you go first.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do my number 2.
Yeah.
I like the character of Martin. I thought that the character was well fleshed out. Probably had the most to do depth-wise in the story. And well acted. I don't know the guy. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else, but I would be intrigued to see him again in more. Forgetting his name. He has 3 names.
Oh.
Yeah.
Michael J. Rogers? Chris William Martin.
There you go. Chris William Martin.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but all of the characters have the name of the actor that plays them.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, Michael is Michael.
Okay.
Martin is his last name, but his character's name is Martin.
Okay.
And then I forget the lead.
Oh.
But her name is the same, Carly. Their name is the same as well. At least credited on IMDb.
Wow, I never actually even noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my number 2, Martin as a character. Thought it strong.
Okay.
Strong as far as the movie goes. Important to the story and delivers a lot of important exposition well.
A lot.
Yeah.
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 That's fair. It's a good pick. My number 2 is kind of because of Martin, but not Martin himself. It's a complete homer pick.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And you're not going to be happy about it.
Oh, okay.
Probably. It's ridiculous. My number 2 is that Carly likes Coca-Cola. It says, yeah, because I love Coca-Cola so much.
That's crazy.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Corporate fanboy.
Totally. But when they have their first meeting, he gets her a drink and he's like, I got you a Coke because I know you love Coke.
Yeah.
And it genuinely made me happy. I was so excited. That's my number 2.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. That's terrible. My number 1, I think this is by far the strongest part of the movie, like running away. The whole idea of priests using tech to fight demons.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a amazing angle. They needed to do more with it.
That is such a good idea that needs to be explored in a much better movie.
That whole reveal that a research firm is a front for priests performing exorcisms. Crazy.
Yeah.
That's the heart of the movie. Wish it had been given more focus and more time and more development. But running away, my favorite part of the movie.
Cool. That's super cool. Yeah. I actually, for some reason, don't know why I didn't put that on my list because I think it actually is the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah.
But my number 1 is seeing TRU.
That's so fair.
I loved it, especially when she first pulls up. I can't remember what the company name is. When she first pulls up for her first meeting, I had to pull up there constantly in the exact spot that she parks.
Yeah.
When I was working for Canada Post and I had to empty out the mailbox at TRU. I literally pulled in there every day for years. And it made me happy.
Nice.
I was like, I know that parking spot. That's where I would park every day to empty out that mailbox. So seeing TRU, again, it all comes to when you're living in an area that is being filmed. It's always amusing to see how they use a location because the building she's walking towards, which is not the building she goes in, which is supposed to be like a lab of some sort, is the cafeteria.
Yeah.
where they teach the culinary arts. So that gave me a little chuckle. And then they cut to a different building, which was still awesome. But it just makes me, that kind of stuff makes me laugh. Similar to the Friendship Game when she leaves Fun Factor and appears downtown.
Yeah.
It's small things when you live in the city it's being filmed in. You don't care because it's the movie, but it's always amusing. And that was one for, so I love seeing TRU. Yeah. All right. What didn't you like about this movie?
You need to take my number 1 pick for coolest things and expand on it.
Yeah.
You need to talk about the priests masquerading as tech people and scientists and expand on it. You know, you don't even see like another case. It's just her mother, you know, like see more, expand that world. Look into like the simulation a little bit more. All of these things could have been fleshed out a little bit more. So that thematic thread is missing in parts, and it needs to be throughout the movie and developed better. That was my least favorite part.
That was 100% mine as well.
Yeah.
It's such a cool idea, and it's so underutilized in this film, and that was such a letdown. When that reveal comes, I was actually kind of like, I'm like, that is sweet. Like, sign me up. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, is this movie going to start getting good? It didn't. But it was such a great idea. I hope somebody will take it and run with it.
Yeah.
And do something, because in honesty, like that would be a great, like that could be a great TV show.
Yeah.
Something like it's just such a great idea that I wish they had used it more in this movie, and they didn't, and the movie is way worse for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Next up is A Peek Behind the Curtain, where we have our guest Sheldon. Unfortunately, I don't know his last name.
Sheldon Marvel.
Sheldon Marvel.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Right.
All right, so we're going to have A Peek Behind the Curtain with Sheldon Marvel now.
Hello and welcome to A Peek Behind the Curtain. This week for Demonic, we have our guest, Sheldon Marvel, joining us. Thank you, Sheldon, for making time to talk with us about your time on Demonic.
Yeah, of course. Nice to see you guys.
Very nice to see you, Sheldon. Sheldon's a very, very close friend of mine. We've worked together a number of times, so I'm super stoked to be able to interview him, even though he's in another city. So we're trying out, obviously, this new over the internet interview kind of thing, and we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Yeah. So Sheldon, what was your role on Demonic? What did you do?
I was a set dresser / art department assistant. I didn't really know it at the time because I thought, judging by the email that I got, which was like little to no explanation, they just said, we need somebody to come move furniture for us for like 12 hours a day. Here's how much money. It's like, sick. I'm in. Yeah. Most money had ever been offered. So like, I was gonna take it, but I wound up being a set dresser.
Nice. And what was that like hiring process like? I know it was pretty odd for you.
No interview, no warning. I was already working at a Subway at the time, and I just remember getting some sketchy email from somebody I didn't know, and they said, "Hey, if you show up at this time, this place, and if you move some furniture for us, then there's money in it for you." And I just remembered hating my job, so I banked my vacation days and hopped over. It was like, it was pretty cushy compared to LA.
Nice. You found it a little bit better than a sandwich artist?
Yeah. I find like they call you an artist because they just want to pay you like as much as they would pay an artist. Little to nothing, but all the rules.
How long were you working on Demonic for?
Dang, I think it was like 4 weeks, something like that.
Was it
Nice.
how many different sets were you working on? Were you just staying for the majority of the shoot?
I worked on 2 different locations. One was the new nursing building for TRU, and it was super bright, super professional. It was kind of a warm place to start out at. Like a place we worked at was the Advantage Tuberculosis Asylum it was called the Tranquil Sanatorium. And that was kind of the opposite. It has like underground tunnels, like an inch of water in them, all the creepy crawlies, like there's just spiders and bats and rats and snakes crawling around down there, and like, it's not Subway. Yeah. You see an ant in Subway, I start getting complaints. I was over there, I was getting hit in the back with animals. Yeah.
You had a pretty interesting run-in with a bat, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember being on like a 10-step ladder by myself. Must have been like 11 p.m. at night. Got nothing but like one work light just shining the whole room. And like as I'm like rolling the paint on the balls, I remember distinctly something hitting me smack dab in the middle of the back. And it, like I was kind of spooked out already because this place is like, haunted basically. But
It's super creepy out there.
it was super creepy out there. Some hit me in my back, and I just like stayed steady and turn around. There's a bat like flopping on the ground because he got hit way harder than I did, obviously. Just blinded him with the light. Yeah. Nobody was there to see it.
That must have been quite surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. I got all my shots after that.
What was your favorite part about making the movie, Sheldon?
I feel like just like the whole experience, when I was going in thinking it was going to be some boring like moving job, to figure out that it's like really quite like an artistic project. Um, I was just kind of baffled that this kind of work for this kind of money was out there for people. And so I feel like every conversation I had with anybody, every location I went to, anything I got to like build for myself or like contribute to the project, it was all like extremely fun.
Nice. And there was the pretty high profile director who was directed. Did you ever have any interactions with Neill Blomkamp?
No, I never got to talk to them. My job was like more of an offset role. To be honest, like I'm really bad with directors or producers or anything like that before. So I remember people telling me it was a Neill Blomkamp movie and me being like, "Oh, who's that?" Being like, "Oh, he's worked on District 9 or Elysium and stuff like that." I'm like, "Oh, I've watched those." Yeah, didn't know that. Yeah. So I guess he's kind of a blockbuster, but I'm sure he was around the onset folks a lot more.
And this show happened pretty like early on in COVID. What kind of an environment did that create for you guys?
It was kind of awkward at first because like it really was just like in the third or fourth week, I feel like, of COVID lockdown really coming down, and film hadn't decided to really shut down at that point, so we're all wearing to take our temperature every day. But since I was offset, it was a little more lax because I'm hanging out with like 3 or 4 other people. Yeah.
Nice.
What was your least favorite part about making the movie?
I feel like once I started talking to people and they started trying to get me locked in on how to like get involved in the industry, just that I would have to essentially move to Vancouver or move outside of the city in order to keep working in the industry. Just because like it's not that this is a one-off. It's not that people don't go to shoot in Kamloops all the time, but I feel like it's just not enough for someone steady, permanent position. So, taking that, I did what I had to do because I love the job, and I came to Vancouver, and I basically have it to, I owe that experience everything to having the life that I do down here.
So yeah, Demonic was kind of like the first step into this whole career. I've been doing this, what, for 4 years?
Yeah, it's like 4.5 years, I guess. I think I started working on that in like July 2021. 2020. Yeah. 4.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went from hometown Kamloops boy to Hollywood North, working in the props department now.
Yeah. I feel like I've been working every single day since. Hey, just come along.
Yeah, you're probably one of my busiest friends in terms of film work, for sure.
Yeah.
And you've earned every single day. How do you?
Yeah. You too, Bob.
Did you get to watch the film when it was finished, Sheldon?
It's the only film I've ever watched that I've ever made before, and yeah, I feel like that was kind of surreal too. Walking man.
Being a set decorator, did you get to recognize some of your own work on screen?
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's
because those 2 locations were like, it felt like 80% of the movie was just in those 2 places. Yeah.
did it fill you with like pride, or like what was your feeling when you saw it, knowing that you helped set that up?
It was a bit nostalgic at the time because I feel like with indie work, because it was an indie project at the time, we got to be a lot more involved. I feel like as you get more and more involved in the industry and they categorize everybody's roles and responsibilities, that like you get like less hands-on than you did back then. So like I remember looking at that stuff, being like, wow, it was like so fun to make that. I just want to do that kind of thing again, you know. Kind of makes me want to support short films or indie projects more than like, I guess, the average show.
Awesome. But that's all I have, Kyle.
Nice. Yeah, we fill a lot of our paychecks come from like Hallmark type series, Hallmark movies, and those kind of things. So I definitely I feel the same as you. It's always nice when you get to do something a little bit more creative. Not that, you know, there's a place for Hallmark, but it's nice when you make a horror. You see your impact very like directly on the screen, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think that could happen in Kamloops to more realistic for film workers to stay and be able to expect maybe a more reliable income?
Right. I feel like there are some like great locations to do that in Kamloops. I feel like if they open the rural market like a little bit more, you know, like for me, when I first got the job, I didn't even know shop movies in Kamloops, right? And like if people knew that they could open up their farms or like their fields or whatever they have out there, you know, like it would open up a lot more opportunity for business, especially because like a lot of our best locations, like for, I guess, optics appeal, are kind of challenging to shoot in because of the railroad, because we got constant trains coming through and it creates like huge scheduling issues because it can roll us back, you know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and anyone coming to shoot over there being an indie project is already on a budget, right? So that could, that kind of it's a nail in the coffin a little bit. But otherwise, I think it's a great place to be. And I think that one of the great things about film in Kamloops is that there's a lot of places like the abandoned tuberculosis asylum that really serve no purpose other than to be an eyesore, to be like folklore of the city, right? But it helps drive like Canada's economy in like a weird way because it just fulfilled like the need of the film industry in that way. So like, you know, this seemingly useless place somehow finds a purpose. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of good there.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's all of my questions there.
Yep, same here.
Awesome. So in that case, Sheldon, thank you so much for making the time. I mean, for our listeners slash viewers, Sheldon was on set today and made some space for us after a long day at work. So we really appreciate that, and we appreciate your insight into Neill Blomkamp film Demonic. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll see you soon, buddy.
Yeah, I hope to see you too.
All right, let's move on to our next section, cool facts.
So that was Sheldon Marvel giving us a peek behind the curtain on the film Demonic. Thank you so much, Sheldon. That was really great talking to you. We really appreciate all the insight you had. Next up, our cool facts.
Our cool facts.
Which is fast becoming my favorite part because I get to react to them.
I think the interviews are becoming my favorite part.
Nice.
Especially like talking to Sheldon, good friend of mine.
Sweet.
Love to sit and chat with my boys.
Nice.
Yeah. So cool facts without further ado.
Yep.
This is the first Neill Blomkamp movie that does not feature a friend of the podcast, Charlton Copley, or usual cinematographer Trent Oplak.
Okay.
Yeah. Very first Neill Blomkamp without those two. So Charlton Copley might be the missing link.
If you say so.
Moving on.
Yes, please.
Carly Pope is only 7 years younger than her mother in this movie, actors wise.
Yeah. Yep.
Carly Pope, 7 years younger than Natalie Bolt. Yeah, who is her mother. They do a good job making them look mother and daughter age.
Yep. Totally.
But, yeah, I was kind of blown away by that 7-year age gap. So
I never thought that they looked close in age when watching. I never, at one point, didn't think that she was her mother. Mm-hmm. So kudos to them.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too. I've done some casting where, like, I have casted people in a massive age gap that I was completely unaware of their age gap while casting. So just had no reason to ask for ages. It's just like this is the age range you have to play. Mm-hmm. They both submitted to that age range and they both looked it, and there was like a large age gap. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting. So,
cool.
Impressive on their part to keep them separate.
Nice.
This film has the most use of something called volumetric capture, which is how they created the 3D models of the actors for the simulation.
Okay.
So all of that, their body was created with this volumetric capture, which is a type of three-dimensional capture. I'm assuming it requires a bodysuit and all the rest. But they capture you in your full being, your width, and copy you digitally.
Neato speedo.
Yeah.
That was part of the simulation stuff?
All the actors that are in the simulation stuff, that's all them. And
cool.
I'm sure that it's used for more, and I'm not technically knowledgeable enough to tell you more.
All right.
And I might be getting some stuff wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's related to the actors. But yeah, most use of that technology out of any movie ever.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch the order of these because it's more fun.
Okay.
Supposedly, Demonic was Blomkamp's first indie film in 6 years.
All right.
Yeah. Nice and short and sweet.
Okay.
Now into the real one. So the reason that you only saw Kamloops in the little locations tab on IMDb, this movie was filmed primarily in secret due to its proximity to the COVID outbreak.
Interesting.
This was being shot in, I believe, August of 2020. And it was not common to be shooting movies at that time.
Okay.
Obviously, due to the restrictions and the pandemic. Fully legal. Let's start there. But they were keeping it pretty hush-hush. Obviously, your film can get a bad rap before it even comes out for something like that. In my opinion, it's a massive economic booster in a downtime to have a film come through and shoot safely. To my knowledge, they employed all of the, not restrictions, but regulations that films continued to employ throughout the pandemic. So kudos to them for creative and economic getting the ball rolling.
Okay.
That's terribly worded.
Yes.
But that's why you only see Kamloops, though, is the other locations were maybe filmed more secretly than Kamloops was.
Okay.
You were earlier, you were correct, though. I think Penticton, Kelowna, and Vernon all have a part to play in this film. It's not only shot in Kamloops, but Kamloops is the only one that they have, not even necessarily they have, that is publicly owned by this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty, if you live in this area, there's numerous shots where you're like, that's nowhere near Kamloops.
There's way too many houses near water.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not a Kamloops thing.
Yeah.
Even though we have an incredible lake for it. But.
Yeah, when I first thought, I'm like, that's not Savannah. That's too big. I was like, is that? I paused. I'm like, that's Penticton. It has to be Penticton.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, one of, I think, Sam's house. It's such a, like, that type of house.
Oh,
Kelowna, everywhere in Kelowna.
Kelowna
Winfield, like along
the way to Penticton.
Yeah.
Yeah, those houses along the side of the mountain that are overlooking that lake.
Beautiful houses tucked into small hills on the cliffside. They're everywhere. So I was like, yeah, that's not Kamloops. if it is good for those people.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where you find that. But those are my cool facts.
I like those
for Demonic.
Nice.
A little quicker, a little easier to
That's
get
okay.
through.
The smaller films are going to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's going to be a little harder for us to find some fun stuff.
Very excited to bring back Charlton Copley.
Oh man. Okay. So small town cinematic imprint.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for us?
A little less than usual again, because I mean, like, it's tough when they're hyper secretive.
Yes.
But I have a few for you. So though this isn't the first, and I have touched on this, though this isn't the first film to ever use truncheal, this is the first film to use their underground tunnels.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they, excuse me, they obviously did a lot, things like fake blood, repainted in the tunnels, all of those kind of things. Everything was returned back to the way it was found with fresh coats of paint, all cleaned up. So though that kind of no footprint filmmaking, I think is really important, especially in places like Kamloops that aren't as used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, I mean, they run most years, some years, the Halloween underground tour at Truncheal.
I haven't heard anything this year.
No,
I don't think so.
It's too bad. So something like that, even though it's a mostly abandoned facility, it's nice that films take the time to return things to where they were when they got there.
Yes.
So that kind of, even though it might not be much activity, but that kind of activity can continue.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, no harm, no foul. Nothing's changed, so nothing's worse. I like to hear that, especially in a facility that's primarily abandoned.
Yeah.
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 So good for them.
Awesome.
Moving on to Demonic, helped keep film workers employed in the interior. I've already touched on this as well. It was a tough go for film during COVID, obviously, as it was for everyone. But things like Demonic got the ball rolling. You need the first few films to really step out and take the hit. I'm sure it cost them more money than it would have if they had waited even a few months to get more information from other shows. But you need a few shows to just step out and take the hit, learn how we make movies in a pandemic, and learn how that's going to be going forward. And Demonic started that with an Oscar-nominated director in our region. That kind of thing, I think, really spurred filmmaking activity around Kamloops and the interior in general for the rest of the pandemic. The interior was getting back to business relatively early compared to most, especially the United States, most filmmaking locations. Mm-hmm. The interior was ready to go around the same time as Vancouver was. Arguably, they were making MOWs a little earlier. So the good old Hallmark movies. Yeah. But to have someone like Neill Blomkamp put that trust in the region to get that done and hire locally, in the example of Sheldon and I'm sure many others, that movie got people's careers started. Yep. At a time when a lot of careers are ending or changing in drastic ways. So big props to Demonic just for the like purely business side of doing that for this region. I think it means a lot.
Cool. Yeah. Good for them.
Good for them.
Wicked.
This is a little tidbit. We've already talked about Demonic shooting at TRU. Yeah. They left a TRU badge in one of the exterior shots, exactly where you were talking about, near the mailbox where you used to park. Mm-hmm. Did you catch it?
No, I wasn't looking for it.
Okay. So they have signage for the company, and then down the wall is the badge, like the TRU badge. I'm intrigued as to how it stayed, or if the right paperwork was signed. But I had a good laugh at that.
Nice.
It didn't take me out of anything, but it was cool to see. Their badge fits pretty well with a research company, though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my cinematic imprint, small town tidbits.
I love
for
it.
this time.
All right. So now it's time to give this movie a rating.
Time to give it a rating.
All right. Who's going first?
I guess I'm going first.
Coolio.
You went first last time.
Sure.
Yeah. I am giving this a 2.5. Perfectly middle of the road to me. It was not. If a movie is worse than this, it's a bad movie. If a movie is better than this, it's a good movie. I had a hard time. I think my excitement about the possibilities of the whole priests as researchers masquerade got me a little more excited than the average person. So yeah, I think this was a perfectly average, like if you were doing if you were doing a test and you needed a control group, like this is your control film. Everything about it is completely average, and you can compare all of your other films to it to see if they're good or bad.
All right.
In my opinion.
Cool.
What do you think?
No. It's 2.
It's a 2?
Almost a 1. Pretty close to a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that saved it from a 1 for me are the 2 cool shots of the demon coming out, and the idea of the simulation, and the idea of the technology using priests.
That's fair.
Yeah, the movie's not good, but good enough to get a 2.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, so those are our ratings. If you'd like to support us in any way, you can come find us on social media. You can find us at Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Small Town Big Screen. On Twitter, also known as X, you can find us at STBS_pod, and on Reddit at STBS_podcast. If you are not social media inclined and would like to reach out to us directly by email, you can find us at smalltownbigscreen.pod@gmail.com.
So that wraps up our thoughts on Demonic. I'm one of your hosts, Manny Manuel.
And I'm Kyle Robertson.
Adios!